Day in a New York federal courtroom, Sean Diddy Combs told the judge he was, quote, a little nervous. The rap mogul's criminal trial began this morning. He is sex trafficking, racketeering, and more. The two sides are now in the process of selecting a jury of 12 plus alternates.
So here's what came out of today's hearing. Number one, the government acknowledged that they offered Combs a plea deal. Combs acknowledged he has no interest in taking that. They're going to move forward with the trial. They also talked about the jury selection process, which one legal expert I spoke to said is probably the most important thing that you want to pay close attention to before the actual trial starts. And thirdly, we learned that Combs will be adding 2 new attorneys to his defense.
Things are heating up fast in Diddy's courtroom drama, and we're only on day 3 of jury selection. Tension is thick in the air from the prosecution side to Diddy's slick team of legal sharks. But here's the real shocker the judge just dropped. A major bombshell by bringing in none other than Benchu. Yeah, that Benchu is the same legal beast who helped Johnny Depp crush it in court against Amber Heard.
Depp built a reputation as one of the most talented actors in Hollywood. A respected artist whose name was associated with success at the box office. Today, his name is associated with a lie.
Everyone's whispering now. This move changes everything. Over the first 2 days, they pulled in a whopping 167 potential jurors to try and lock in the perfect mix. But get this, 49 were instantly kicked out of the running. The rest, they got hit with a wave of rapid-fire questions. Nearly 100 yes or no interrogations designed to weed out the weak from the worthy. The questions mostly focused on where these folks get their news and how they really feel about Diddy. Some didn't hold back, straight up saying they're not fans. Others admitted they might struggle to stay neutral if things get messy. By day 3, they trimmed the crowd down to 35 possible jurors, and this group is all over the map. We're talking people from every walk of life. Some work in design, some in social work, others in medicine, or even on the factory floor. Their ages stretch from their mid-30s all the way up to their 80s. And their news sources range from YouTube and TikTok to old-school newspapers and blogs. That mix makes things super risky because these folks are constantly exposed to celebrity drama online. That means opinions can shift fast, especially with high-profile figures already chiming in. Just look at Dr. Umar, for example. He is not being charged with crimes against Cassie.
He is not being charged with crimes against Cassie. He's being charged with crimes against others. Cassie was paid and dismissed. Why is she being brought back into court after taking that man's money and testifying against him? That right there is clearly an excessive and abusive use of the law. Absolutely wrong. I do not like it. As far as Puffy asking for his case to be delayed, I agree with that. Remember, one of his lawyers recused himself, okay, at least one of them. So he probably has, some new people on his legal team. They got to get reacclimated and get caught up with what's going on. And I saw nothing wrong with him asking for a 2-month delay. He's already in jail. Y'all didn't give him bail, which y'all also think is a violation of his constitutional rights. So he should have got the 8-week delay. But here we go again. Deion Sanders. We want to make an example out of Puff. And of course, Deion wasn't accused of what Puffy is being accused of, but we want to make an example out of Sean Puffy Combs. He was too confident, he was too big, and it was time for us to bring him.
Now the judge is working on locking in the final crew. 12 jurors and 6 alternates from that tight pool of possibles, but don't get it twisted. This case is huge. Diddy's staring down 5 major federal charges, and it's not light stuff. Prosecutors are saying he was behind a shady operation tied to sex and drugs. And guess what? His ex, Cassie Ventura, might take the stand and spill everything. If this goes south for him, he could be looking at life behind bars. That's why the courtroom just got even more serious. To help guide the process, the judge pulled in a heavyweight, Benchu, one of the lawyers who helped Johnny Depp beat that explosive defamation case against Amber Heard. Ben broke it down, explaining how jury selection gets extra tricky when you're dealing with a celebrity at the center of a scandal.
Also have a member of the team going through the social media of these jurors, making sure they didn't do anything. I mean, how much research can you do in terms of, did they search for something? Did they say something? I always am curious about that because you come into court the next day and you always hear a prosecutor or defense attorney say, court, we have an issue we would like to bring to your attention. Juror number 5 was looking, it's like, how did they find that out? Is that what happens?
Well, it is in a high stakes case like this. I mean, as you know, not all clients have the resources to hire, jury consultants and to hire investigators. But in this case, you have a defendant who could theoretically be sentenced to life in prison, who has the means. So I'm sure, or I would think, that his counsel have a team of investigators following the jurors around to the extent they can and looking for any electronic footprint.
Bench, you spilled some truth. Usually folks want to be on a celebrity jury. It's flashy and exciting. And some even see it as their moment to be part of something big. But this time it's a whole different vibe. Hardly anyone's volunteering to sit on this jury, and that's raising eyebrows. Why the hesitation? Ben explained it plain and simple. This isn't some defamation drama like Johnny Depp's case. This is a criminal trial, and the stakes are way higher. The stuff involved is heavy and dark and could get real disturbing once the evidence starts rolling in. So now a lot of potential jurors are backing off, not wanting to deal with what's coming, and word is Diddy's feeling the pressure too. He's reportedly getting nervous about who's going to end up deciding his fate.
Day 2 of jury selection in the racketeering and sex trafficking trial of Sean Combs, seen in court with graying hair. Federal prosecutors are trying to prove Combs used his power, wealth, and fame to force women into drug-fueled orgies he called freak-offs and then threaten them into silence.
The jury questionnaire warning potential jurors there may be evidence of sexually explicit videos, photographs, and language. Many prospective jurors said they had heard of the case, and this potentially damning evidence, video first obtained by CNN showing Combs knocking then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura to the floor of a Los Angeles hotel in 2016 and kicking and dragging her. It was upsetting to watch, one woman told the judge, but I don't know the full story, so I can listen to the facts.
Many prospective jurors said they recognized the names of other celebrities that might come up at trial.
Several potential jurors knew of Combs' cultural significance. The woman said she remembered him from Making the Band. A man said he liked to listen to hip-hop in the 1990s.
Can't nobody hold me down.
When Combs became a chart-topping artist. To remain in the jury pool, all had to say they could be fair. The judge tried to keep things moving, so when the defense asked for a bathroom break, Combs apologized, saying, "Sorry, Your Honor, I'm a little nervous today."
Ben also gave some insight into what kind of jurors Diddy's team might be crossing their fingers for. According to him, they're probably hoping for younger people, the kind who are open-minded and not easily rattled by wild details. The defense needs folks who won't flinch at sensitive topics or let emotions take over. And here's the part that's got people talking. Ben said they might lean toward having more men on the jury. Not because women can't be fair, he made that clear, but because some of the evidence might hit differently for women, especially with the nature of the claims. The concern is that certain details could feel too personal or emotional, making it harder to stay fully neutral. So now everyone's watching closely to see how this final jury shapes up and whose hands Diddy's fate ends up in.
You put Johnny Depp on the stand. It's always a high-risk strategy. It worked for you. If you were representing Sean Diddy Combs, would you put him up?
Well, we put Johnny up because he was telling the truth. So that was a very easy decision to make. And he had the burden of proof. And frankly, we couldn't have stopped him even if we wanted to, but we didn't want to. Telling the truth as he did over several days. You're not telling the truth. Skilled attorneys on the other side are going to puncture that. I believe in that system. I think in this case, I don't think he's got any choice. Given that video, he's got to explain it. He's got to say that he's terribly sorry for it, but that was an aberration. That's not who he is. He simply has.
And here's where the real drama kicks in. Word on the street is Diddy was not happy when the judge brought in Johnny Depp's high-profile lawyer to speak on jury selection. Sources say he totally lost it behind closed doors. His legal team was caught off guard. They weren't expecting Ben to show up and break things down like that. And now Diddy's feeling like this unexpected move could seriously shift the entire vibe of the trial. He's worried that having a legal powerhouse like Ben talk shop with the court might sway how the jury gets picked, and in a case this explosive, who lands on that jury could flip everything on its head.
I think you want somebody who wants to serve, someone eager to serve, because that suggests that person might be inclined toward a celebrity like Diddy. I would also, in this case, I would want men, not because men support abuse, but I could see this being very difficult for women jurors. I would want younger jurors as well. I don't know that older jurors would be good for him.
Do you care where they get their news? Do you care if they go on social media?
I wouldn't care so much about social media. Certainly watching you on Law and Crime would be a real problem. But no, I wouldn't care too much. I mean, in fact, if they were reading the celebrity media, TMZ, Rolling Stone, that might be an encouraging thing for Diddy's counsel.
Starting Friday, the real game begins. Both sides get to use their peremptory challenges. That means they can boot a juror without having to explain why unless the judge suspects it's based on race or gender. If that happens, the judge can shut it down fast, but things are already getting messy. One potential juror got the axe just for saying they worked at HBO. Yeah, the same HBO that just dropped a documentary about Diddy. That connection was enough to raise red flags. Then there was another twist. Someone else failed to mention they worked at the Legal Aid Society, which helps defend people in criminal cases, but they still made the cut. The judge said their response is checked out, so they're staying in the mix. Benchu is watching all of this closely and believes this phase is make or break for Diddy's defense. E-team.
Diddy has a very good jury consultant, probably more than one, who is profiling the type of juror who would be most sympathetic to him. And I think it's wise for attorneys, even experienced attorneys, to defer for the most part to those jury consultants. Now, ultimately, it's the client's choice, and the client should be participating in the process, especially where it's here, his liberty is at stake.
And was that something that you had in your case where your client wanted to get involved in the jury selection process? Because it's been reported that Diddy has been almost like nodding to his attorneys or maybe even shaking his head regarding certain prospective jurors. Is that common? Is that what you saw?
I think that is common, and it's natural that you would want to have some role in choosing the people who decide your fate.
Last year, CNN dropped a bomb. They aired full security footage from a hotel dating all the way back to 2016. The video showed Diddy getting physical with his ex-girlfriend, singer Cassie Ventura. It shocked everyone. After it aired, Diddy came forward with an apology, but the damage was already done. Because of how intense and high-profile this case is, the court made a big move. The jury will stay completely anonymous. No names will be released, all to protect them from threats, harassment, or public pressure. Prosecutors are saying that video is just a small glimpse into a much darker pattern. They claim Diddy's been using fear, violence, and control over women for more than 2 decades. And what's even more disturbing, they say he forced women into drug-fueled events he called freak-offs. These weren't just wild parties. Prosecutors described them as setups involving male sex workers where women were pressured to participate, with no real say in the matter. According to the official charges, Diddy didn't just show up to these events. He ran the whole thing. They're saying he used his fame, his power, and his connections to plan and control these twisted gatherings. He allegedly directed how they went down, picked who was involved, and even secretly filmed them without the women ever knowing. Some of these parties went on for days with new faces coming in and out constantly. And now Chopper, someone who's been around the scene, just came forward and exposed even more disturbing details about what was really happening behind those closed doors.
So I don't know, bro. I'm talking about celebrities. I'm talking about big time celebrities. You dig? I was just young city. I was just Chopper. You heard me? But to see like the juggernauts, the big dogs, you dig? The people we grew up watching, it was kind of exciting too. It was weird, exciting, and because you can't believe that you're here. They are accepting you. But I don't really think they was accepting it. They just was fucking having fun. They didn't give a fuck who was there. And it was kind of like a situation towards, what you see in here don't go outside. It was kind of like that, if that makes sense. Whatever happens in here stays in here because everybody got something to lose in here. So it was kind of like that too. So I guess that made people be okay and willingly able to do whatever they wanted to do in there. You heard me? Because they knew that at the end of the day, it wasn't going to come back out of there. That's why people were so eager and fun to do what they wanted to do in there. Just my opinion. Because everybody has something to lose.
Chopper didn't hold back. He dropped some seriously unsettling claims about Diddy that no one saw coming. We're talking stuff that hadn't even been whispered in the rumor mill before. One of the wildest details he alleged was that Diddy kept certain items for his own use, including adult toys that were, according to Chopper, shockingly large, as in 10 in. These revelations are taking the scandal to a whole new level, with people now questioning just how deep this story really goes.
When I'm when I'm walking, you heard me, I walk into this room. You heard me, I walk into this room and I've seen all types of what'd you call it? Dominatrix looking dildos and sex toys and all types of weird shit. That was in my head. Like, to be honest with you, I didn't, at this time, I was green gas. So I wasn't thinking it was like Diddy's room. I thought it was more like Diddy be like bringing girls over and just doing all types of crazy shit. But knowing what I know now, that nigga's a fucking freak. Yeah, so yeah, I've been to his house in style and I've seen dildos, sex toys, and all types of weird shit in there. Definitely.
Then things got even more uncomfortable. Chopper claimed that one time Diddy allegedly tried to make a move on an MTV cameraman. According to him, the situation got so awkward and unsettling that the guy ended up quitting the company altogether. That kind of story is raising serious eyebrows, especially since it involves someone who was just doing their job behind the scenes. It's adding yet another layer to the already wild accusations circling Diddy right now.
One of the producers over there at MTV at the time, who was super cool guy. He actually had the camera walking with us, you heard me, to Brooklyn to get the cheesecake. So the first Art Dialogue interview, you heard me, that I did, he DM'd me and I definitely talked to him. He was like, yeah, bruh, how you been, Chop? I'm like, I'm straight, bruh. Appreciate you hitting me. Long time. He like, yeah, bruh. I appreciate your interview, you heard me, that you did on Art of Dialogue. I said, thank you. I appreciate you, bruh. And he was like, you ever notice why I was shooting with y'all and then all of a sudden you haven't seen me after that? And I'm like, yeah, I do. I said, why is that? He said, because one time, Diddy invited me to his office and told me to suck his dick. And he was like, he said, I damn near wanted to kill him, bro. He was like, I left the office and I quit.
To keep the chaos rolling, Diddy allegedly passed out drugs like candy, including things like GHB and magic mushrooms, according to claims. The women involved were expected to go with the flow. No questions asked, no matter how wild things got. And when the party finally ended, it didn't stop there. They were reportedly given for fluids to help them bounce back from the physical toll, like they had just been through some kind of marathon. The whole setup sounds more like a controlled operation than just a party scene.
Say they found recordings of freak-offs, and the evidence was then used to blackmail these women if they didn't cooperate more.
Diddy's longtime ex-girlfriend, Cassandra Cassie Ventura, filing a lawsuit against him last year that changed everything.
He would direct her how to touch the sex worker, how to pour like oil over her body, and he would watch these things happen while he was masturbating.
Cassie Ventura's lawsuit gave the blueprint for the Southern District of New York to investigate Sean Combs. And the lawsuits that followed gave the brick and mortar to build the case against.
And it gets even darker. The charges go way beyond wild parties. Prosecutors claim Diddy used guns, kidnappings, and even started fires to keep control over his victims. One of the women at the center of this case, listed only as Victim 1, is widely believed to be Cassie Ventura in one shocking incident from 2016. Security footage reportedly caught Diddy in a Los Angeles hotel hallway hitting Cassie, kicking her, and even hurling a vase at her. The footage sent shock waves through the industry. Later on, Stevie J claimed that Diddy's behavior was fueled by drugs that night, but it doesn't stop there. Another allegation from court docs says Diddy once held a woman over the edge of a balcony during a heated argument, like something straight out of a nightmare. Now Diddy's legal team is scrambling to fight back. Leading the charge is Mark Agnello, a heavyweight criminal defense attorney known for taking on high-profile and controversial clients, including the NXIVM cult leader and pharma bro Martini. Yeah, that guy. Backing him up is a stacked team: Tenny, Gallo, Alexandra Shapiro, and Brian Steele, who recently defended rapper Young Thug in his own headline-grabbing case. This lineup is no joke.
Involving the case against Sean Diddy Combs. What he decided in court today and what this now means, the move coming just 4 days before his trial is set to begin. Here's Aaron Katursky.
Tonight, Sean Combs makes it official. He's rejecting the government's offer to plead guilty and spare himself the possibility of a prolonged term in prison. When asked if he turned down the offer, Combs answered, "Yes, I do, Your Honor," as he stood in a baggy beige jail uniform. Terms were not disclosed, but prosecutors did say a plea could result in a shorter sentence for Combs than if he's convicted. The decision guarantees Combs will face trial beginning just 4 days from now that will test whether one of music's most prolific figures used his power, wealth, and fame to sexually exploit both women and men for decades. Combs has pleaded not guilty to racketeering conspiracies, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution charges that accused him of coercing alleged victims into prolonged drug-fueled sexual activity that he called freak-offs and threatening them into silence.
The last hearing before Sean Combs' trial starts, when he walked into federal court today, he appeared to be looking for his family. They've pretty much been at all of the hearings that I've been to, but there was no presence of his sons or his mother or his sister who had previously been at those hearings. So here's what came out of today's hearing. Number one, the government acknowledged that they offered Combs a plea deal. Combs acknowledged he has no interest in taking that. They're going to move forward with the trial. They also talked about the jury selection process, which one legal expert I spoke to said is probably the most important thing that you want to pay close attention to before the actual trial starts. And thirdly, we learned that Combs will be adding 2 new attorneys to his defense team. And just to recap, Combs, who is 55 years old, could spend the rest of his life behind bars if convicted on sex trafficking and racketeering. He has pleaded not guilty to all charges.
The case against Sean Diddy Combs, what he decided in court today, and what this now means. The move comes just for days before his trial is set to begin. Here's Aaron Kursky. Tonight, Sean Combs makes it official. He's rejecting the government's offer to plead guilty and spare himself the possibility of a prolonged term in prison. When asked if he turned down the offer, Combs answered, "Yes, I do, Your Honor," as he stood in a baggy beige jail uniform. Terms were not disclosed, but prosecutors did say a plea could result in a shorter sentence for Combs than if he's convicted. The decision guarantees Combs will face trial beginning just 4 days from now. That will test whether one of music's most prolific figures used his power, wealth, and fame to sexually exploit both women and men for decades. Combs has pleaded not guilty to racketeering conspiracies and transportation to engage in prostitution charges that accused him of coercing alleged victims into drug-fueled sexual activity that healed freak-offs and threatening them into signing